Have you ever felt the sting of disappointment when realizing that someone you thought was close wasn't truly supporting you on your journey? In the teachings of Buddha, learning to see beyond outward appearances is essential for maintaining peace of mind and inner well-being. Often people lack the courage to be honest about their feelings, choosing instead to hide behind polite smiles and empty compliments, which can sometimes wound more deeply than the truth. Today, we'll delve into how to recognize the signs that someone is not genuinely in your life out of love and support, but is instead keeping you at arm's length. Get ready for a revealing exploration that will not only shield you from future disappointments, but also guide you toward cultivating more authentic, meaningful relationships. Join us as we embark on this path of self-awareness and discernment, drawing from Buddha's wisdom to illuminate our connections and lead us toward a more harmonious and fulfilling life. First, observe the words and behaviors that emerge from criticism. In life, we encounter people who frequently make comments about our imperfections, disguised as jokes or critiques. These observations may seem harmless, but they are often more than just words. If someone constantly points out your flaws while downplaying your strengths, it's important to consider their true intentions. Beyond external appearances in Buddhism, we learn to observe without letting others' words disrupt our inner balance. Criticism and mockery can be opportunities to practice patience and understanding, recognizing that while others' behavior may be hurtful, our response to it is what truly matters. Remember, people who frequently criticize your weaknesses don't do so out of benevolence. Their behavior may reflect their own insecurity and desire for control. From a Buddhist perspective, it is essential to remain calm and compassionate, both toward yourself and others. Defend your dignity with equanimity, recognizing that your true worth isn't defined by external opinions, but by your own practice and understanding of the Dharma. Instead of letting these interactions pull you off your path, use them as reminders to reinforce your practice of self-acceptance and empathy. True strength and serenity come from within and cannot be altered by others' words or actions. It is essential to surround yourself with people who uplift you, not those who belittle you for an easy laugh. True friends don't need to point out your flaws to feel better about themselves. They celebrate your strengths and support you in your weaknesses without making you the butt of a joke. Time and time again, I've seen people allow these disparaging comments to go unchallenged, thinking it's easier to keep the peace than to confront the situation. But here's the deep truth. Allowing others to disrespect you, even in a joking tone, is a slippery slope. It starts with small comments, but over time, those jokes can wear you down and make you question your own value. The more you allow this behavior, the more it reinforces itself, until you begin doubting yourself just to avoid appearing too sensitive. I learned this lesson the hard way. I realized that by laughing along, I was giving permission for it to continue. I was complicit in my own belittlement. It wasn't until I started setting boundaries and standing up for myself that I noticed a change, not only in how others treated me, but in how I viewed myself. I stopped allowing their words to define my worth and began reclaiming my own narrative. So here's my advice. The next time someone makes a joke at your expense, don't take it lightly. Ask yourself, is this really a joke or is there something more behind it? And if the answer is the latter, don't be afraid to confront the person. It may be uncomfortable and could even jeopardize the friendship, but your respect for yourself is worth far more than a bad joke. In the end, life is too short to surround yourself with people who don't recognize your value. If their idea of friendship is constantly pointing out your flaws, it's time to seek new relationships. Those who truly care about you will never need to tear you down to feel good about themselves. So hold on to your dignity, speak firmly, and don't let anyone reduce you to a joke. Second, compliments that hurt like insults. In the practice of Dharma, it is crucial to recognize the hidden intentions behind the compliments we receive. Often, backhanded compliments are a subtle way of undermining while pretending to be kind. I remember once working hard on a project I was very proud of. After countless hours of effort, I finally shared it with a group of colleagues. One of them, someone I thought supported me, said with a smile, "Wow, this is pretty good for someone like you." I stood there, puzzled. At first glance it seemed like a compliment, but those last words, "for someone like you," hit me hard. Wasn't I supposed to be capable of doing good work? This is the crucial point. These so-called compliments are loaded with a hidden agenda. They're not meant to elevate you, but to keep you in your place. It's a power play, a way for the person giving the compliment to affirm their superiority, while making you doubt your own abilities. It's like saying, "I see you're trying, but you'll never be as good as me." It's toxic, but it's wrapped in such an attractive package that you almost don't notice the poison inside. In truth, people who give backhanded compliments are often insecure themselves. They see your potential and strengths, and that scares them. So they use these subtle comments to keep you second-guessing yourself, ensuring you don't rise too high. It's like giving you a pat on the back while holding you down with the other hand. Here's the profound message. You don't have to accept this disguised hostility. You have the power to reject it and see it for what it truly is, a reflection of their own insecurities, not a measure of your worth. When someone says you're smarter than you look, or this is good considering you're new at this, you don't have to brush it off to keep the peace. Because if you do, you're allowing them to dictate how you see yourself, and that's a power you should never give to anyone. I've learned to recognize these disguised compliments for what they really are, reflections of others' insecurities. When you see it from this perspective, the words lose their impact. Instead of internalizing them, you can even laugh at them, because at the end of the day, their words say more about them than about you. So here's what I do now. When I receive a backhanded compliment, I don't let it slide. I respond with something like, "Thanks, but what do you mean by that?" This forces them to confront the hidden insult in their words, and more often than not, it makes them uncomfortable. Suddenly they realize you're not playing their game, and it's surprising how quickly their attitude changes. The lesson is clear. Don't let the veiled judgments of others define you, whether it's a well-meaning friend, a jealous colleague, or even a family member. Remember this, your worth is not up for debate. Compliments should lift you up, not bring you down. If someone's words make you question your own value, it's time to question their intentions, not yours. Life is too short to waste it on people who can't genuinely celebrate your successes. Surround yourself with those who see your value and aren't afraid to express it without conditions. Now let's move on to the next part, subtle exclusion from your plans. Sometimes it's the little things that hurt the most, like realizing that your supposed friends accidentally forgot to invite you to that dinner, that party, or that weekend getaway. They'll tell you it was an oversight, a last-minute thing, or even that they assumed you were too busy. But let's be honest, these aren't coincidences. This is social exclusion in its most subtle form, and it's a clear sign that you're not as valued as you thought. I've experienced this too many times. I remember a weekend when I saw pictures on my phone of a group of friends enjoying an event I would have loved to attend. The worst part is that no one mentioned anything to me beforehand. When I casually brought it up later, they were full of excuses. "We thought you were busy," or "it was a last-minute plan." But deep down, I knew the truth. If they really wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew about it. Here's the crucial point. This form of exclusion isn't just a lack of consideration, it's a manifestation of a deeper attitude. In Buddhism, we learn to be mindful of our interactions and not to let such actions divert us from our path of inner peace. Instead of letting these experiences cause us pain, we can use them to deepen our practice of compassion and self-understanding. It's an opportunity to practice detachment and recognize that our well-being doesn't depend on external acceptance, but on the inner stability we cultivate through our spiritual practice. Subtle exclusion from your plans is a deliberate way of sending a wordless message. They don't want you there but don't have the courage to tell you directly. Instead, they hope you'll quietly step away from the group without causing conflict. It's passive-aggressive and cowardly, but unfortunately it's quite common. Many people prefer not to talk about this because it's easier to pretend it's not happening. It's more comfortable to accept the excuses, to convince yourself it really was a mistake, rather than facing the painful truth that you're being excluded. On the path of Dharma, we learn to face the truth with clarity. If you keep accepting these excuses, you're giving them permission to exclude you. You're allowing them to decide your place in their lives instead of taking control of your own narrative. I learned this the hard way. For a while I stayed silent, allowing these accidental exclusions to pass, hoping that maybe next time I'd be included. But I realized that by staying quiet, I was allowing myself to be treated as a secondary option. So I did something that might seem controversial. I started confronting the situation. I'd say something like, "I saw you guys went out last weekend. Why wasn't I invited?" It wasn't easy and definitely created an uncomfortable atmosphere, but it also forced people to confront their behavior. And guess what? The dynamics changed. Some people got defensive, others tried to make up for it, but the conclusion was clear. I wasn't going to let myself be excluded without standing up for myself. The deeper message here is clear. If people truly want you in their lives, they'll make the effort to include you, no matter how spontaneous the plan. And if they don't, then it's time to reassess the value of those relationships. You deserve to be surrounded by people who don't make you feel like you're constantly chasing their approval or attention. True friends don't forget to invite you. They make sure you're there because they genuinely enjoy your company. If you find yourself being subtly excluded from plans, don't take it lightly. Confront the situation, ask the tough questions, and prepare for the answers, even if they're not what you want to hear. At the end of the day, it's better to know where you really stand than to keep wondering why you were left out once again. And remember, you are not a secondary option, you are a priority. Fourth, surround yourself with people who treat you as a priority. In life, we often hear excuses like, "I'm so busy these days, sorry, I can't hang out." It's the perfect excuse because, after all, who isn't busy? But what happens when you start noticing a pattern? They're always available for others, posting pictures of their outings, catching up with mutual friends. But when it comes to you, they're suddenly swamped. Here's the hard truth. They're not really busy. They're just too busy for you. I've been in that frustrating situation more times than I'd like to admit. I remember trying to coordinate a meet-up with a close friend. Every time I suggested something, they had an excuse. "I'm working late," or "I've got too much going on, maybe next week." Meanwhile, I'd see them out with others, always finding time for everyone but me. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to see the pattern. The message they were sending was clear. I was no longer a priority in their lives. Here's where the controversy comes in. We've been conditioned to accept busyness as a valid reason for being sidelined. But let's be honest, people make time for what and who matters to them. If they're always too busy when it comes to you, it's not a matter of their schedule but of their priorities. And this is hard to accept because it forces you to confront the reality that maybe you're not as important to them as they are to you. The harsh reality is that busy is often a polite way of saying, "I don't want to spend time with you." It's easier for them to blame their schedule than to admit that they're choosing not to include you in their lives. It's a passive-aggressive way to keep you at a distance without having to face the confrontation that would come with telling you the truth. They want to keep you available just in case, without really investing in the relationship, and I've been on both sides of this. There were times when I was the one making excuses because I didn't know how to say that I had outgrown the friendship, but being on the receiving end taught me a valuable lesson. In the way of Dharma, we learn to recognize and accept the truth of relationships. True friendship is based on reciprocity and mutual respect. If someone is constantly too busy for you, it's a sign to reflect on the true nature of that relationship. Don't let a lack of attention discourage you. You deserve to be surrounded by people who value you and make the effort to be present in your life. So if you find yourself in this situation, don't feel diminished. Use this experience as an opportunity to cultivate wisdom and strengthen your connection with those who truly appreciate your presence. It's better to be honest, even if it's uncomfortable, than to keep someone waiting with excuses. When I finally confronted my friend about always being too busy, the conversation was awkward, but it was necessary. It gave me the clarity I needed to move on and invest my time and energy in relationships where I was truly valued. Here's the deeper message. Your time is precious, and so is your energy. Don't waste it on people who don't care enough to make time for you. If someone is constantly too busy for you, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. You deserve to be surrounded by people who are happy to see you, who make an effort to include you in their lives, not just when it's convenient, but because they genuinely enjoy your company. It's important to recognize that people change, and so do relationships. Sometimes we hold on to people out of habit, nostalgia, or fear of being alone, even when it's clear they've moved on. But there is strength in letting go, in recognizing that you deserve more than someone's leftover time. It's not about being needy or demanding. It's about valuing yourself enough to walk away from those who don't value you. Fifth, they avoid physical contact like it's a plague. Let's address the elephant in the room, physical contact, or rather the lack of it. We're not just talking about romantic relationships here. Physical contact is a basic human interaction, a way to connect and build trust. So what does it mean when someone goes out of their way to avoid even the most casual touch? The answer isn't pleasant. They're sending a clear signal that they feel uncomfortable around you, and it's time to pay attention. I once worked with a colleague who seemed to pull back every time I reached out for a handshake or gave a friendly pat on the back. At first I thought it was just my imagination, but then I noticed it wasn't just with me. They were warm and touchy with others, but when it came to me, it was as if I had the plague. It didn't take long for me to realize that their avoidance of physical contact was more than just a quirk. It was a deliberate effort to keep me at a distance. Here's the controversial part. Physical contact is a natural part of human interaction, and when someone consistently avoids it, they are communicating a lack of comfort or connection. In the path of Dharma, we learn to be mindful of how our interactions reflect the state of our relationships. If someone avoids physical contact with you, it's a sign that there's a barrier in the connection. Don't take this as a personal slight, but as an opportunity to reflect on the relationship and how you wish to be treated. Value your space and well-being, and seek relationships where there is an authentic, respectful connection, where physical contact is an expression of affection and genuine closeness. Of course, some people simply aren't very affectionate, and that's okay. But when the lack of contact is selective, when they're comfortable hugging others but stiffen up around you, it's a sign that something is off. They may not dislike you enough to say it outright, but their body language is saying everything. And let's be honest, we've all been in that situation on both sides of the equation. Maybe you've avoided a handshake or backed away when someone got too close because you didn't feel comfortable, or perhaps you've been on the receiving end, wondering why someone always seems to shrink away when they're near you. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and often it's a sign that the relationship isn't as strong as you'd like to think. But here's the deeper truth. Physical contact is a fundamental part of human connection. It's how we show trust, warmth, and empathy. When someone avoids it with you, they're not just avoiding touch. They're avoiding closeness, intimacy, and vulnerability. They're keeping you at a literal and figurative distance, and that's a clear indication that there's an underlying issue in the relationship. I've learned to pay attention to these signals, even when it's hard to admit what they mean. There was a time when I ignored the signs, convincing myself that someone's reluctance to get close was just a personality trait. But the more I reflected on it, the more I realized it was about me and our relationship. When I finally confronted the situation, it led to difficult conversations, and in some cases, the end of the relationship, but it also freed me from the frustration of wondering why things felt off. So here's the deeper message: don't ignore the signs. When someone avoids physical contact with you, it's more than just a preference. It's a statement about their level of comfort and connection with you. If you notice this pattern, don't be afraid to address it. It may lead to a deeper understanding, or it may reveal that the relationship isn't as solid as you thought. Either way, it's better to confront the truth than to live in denial. And remember, you deserve relationships where physical contact isn't something forced, but something that happens naturally and comfortably. Whether it's a friendly hug, a handshake, or simply sitting close without feeling awkward, these small gestures build trust and connection. If someone consistently avoids them, it's a sign that something isn't right. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions, and if necessary, make the tough decisions. Life is too short to be surrounded by people who keep you at a literal and figurative distance. 6. They disappear when you need support. Let's be honest, nothing reveals the true nature of a relationship like a crisis. When things get tough, you find out who your real friends are. So what does it mean when someone disappears the moment you need them most? It's not just a sign of a lack of commitment, it's a clear warning that they're not as invested in you as you thought. And let's be real, when someone disengages during your darkest hours, it's not only painful, it's a betrayal. I learned this the hard way during a particularly difficult time in my life. I was dealing with a major personal issue, something that really shook me to my core. Naturally, I turned to the people I considered close friends, expecting some level of support, even if it was just a message or a quick call. But guess what? Absolute silence. The people I thought would be there for me suddenly had every excuse in the book. I'm so swamped with work. Or sorry, I'm busy right now. I'll check in later. Spoiler, they never did. Here's where the controversy comes in. People love to talk about how they'll always be there for you, but when the critical moment arrives, many of them are only present for the good times. They'll have fun with you, laugh with you, and enjoy the high points of your life, but the moment things get tough, they're nowhere to be found. It's easier for them to disappear than to deal with your pain or discomfort. They don't want to be dragged into your problems because deep down, they don't care enough to be there when you need them most. And let's be brutally honest, true support isn't about convenience. It's about being there when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, and when it's the last thing you want to do. People who disappear when you need them most aren't just being inconsiderate. They're showing you exactly where you stand in their lives. They're saying without words, your problems aren't worth my time. I remember feeling absolutely devastated when I realized that the people I'd been there for in the past, through their breakups, family dramas, and tough professional times, couldn't be bothered to return the favor. In the path of Dharma, we learn that true friendship and support are revealed in times of difficulty, not just in moments of joy. It's essential to recognize and appreciate those who stand by us during difficult times, and to let go of those who are only present when everything is going well. True compassion and support are shown through consistent practice and authentic presence, not just in words. It was a wake-up call, and not a pleasant one, but it was a lesson I needed to learn. Not everyone who smiles in your face is truly by your side. Here's the deeper message. Support is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. It's easy to be there when everything is going well, but the true test of a relationship is how people respond when things fall apart. If someone disappears when you need them, they're not just failing you, they're showing you that they were never truly there in the first place. But don't let their absence make you bitter, let it make you better. Use it as a filter to separate those who don't deserve a place in your life. Those who stay, who care, who show up even when it's inconvenient. Those are the ones who truly matter. Those are the relationships you should nurture and value. In the end, life is too short to invest in fair-weather friends. Surround yourself with people who will stand by you in the storm, not just enjoy the sunshine. Because when you find those rare individuals who stay when things get tough, you've found something worth holding on to. As for those who disappear, let them go. They've already shown you their true colors. Seventh, they talk about you behind your back. Gossip is the social poison that spreads faster than wildfire and can destroy relationships in an instant. The thing about gossip is that it's never as innocent as people want to make it seem. When someone you consider a friend talks behind your back, they're not just sharing an innocent story, they're actively sabotaging your trust, your reputation, and your relationship. Let's be honest, when someone gossips about you, it's a clear sign that they don't respect you, no matter how friendly they seem to your face. I've been the subject of gossip before, and let me tell you, it's one of the most heartbreaking experiences. There was a time when I confided in someone I thought was a close friend about a personal issue. I needed to vent, to release some of the weight I was carrying, and I trusted this person to keep it private. But within days, the details of that conversation began to circulate, distorted and exaggerated. It was like a game of telephone, except the message didn't just get lost, it was twisted. True friendship is built on mutual trust and respect. Gossip is a manifestation of an uncontrolled mind seeking to undermine peace and harmony in relationships. Instead of letting yourself be consumed by anger and sadness, use this experience as an opportunity to strengthen your practice of compassion and discernment. Recognize that those who gossip about you are revealing their own insecurities and lack of integrity. Your true strength lies in how you choose to respond to these challenges, maintaining your own clarity and openness. Remember, the true value of a relationship is measured in sincerity and unconditional support. Don't let the malicious words of others derail you from your path to inner peace. Gossip may be painful, but it's also an opportunity to practice patience, understanding, and detachment. Keep your heart free of resentment and continue moving forward on your path with the serenity and wisdom we cultivate through Dharma. It was a deeply painful experience. The person I trusted had turned my vulnerability into entertainment for others. Here's the controversial truth. People who gossip about you aren't just venting or sharing concerns. They're playing a power game. Gossip is a way for them to elevate themselves while bringing you down, all without having to confront you directly. It's cowardly, manipulative, and toxic. They're not just damaging your reputation, they're destroying the very foundation of trust on which any true relationship is built. And let's be clear, those who gossip about others to you will also gossip about you to others. It's a pattern, not an isolated incident. I've seen this too many times. Someone who loves to spill secrets about everyone else suddenly goes quiet when they're with you. Guess what? They're probably sharing your secrets when you're not around. It's a betrayal of the worst kind because it's done in the shadows, without giving you the chance to defend yourself or even know what's being said. Now here's where it gets personal. I remember confronting the friend who gossiped about me, expecting some kind of apology, or at least an explanation. Instead, they acted like it was no big deal, downplaying it as if it were just harmless chatter. But here's the truth, gossip is never harmless. It's a betrayal, plain and simple, and it says much more about the person spreading it than about the person being talked about. In the path of Dharma, we learn that true friendship is rooted in integrity and mutual respect. Gossip corrodes the essence of these qualities and sows discord at the heart of relationships. When we face these situations, it's crucial to keep a calm mind and an open heart, recognizing that the way we choose to respond reflects our own wisdom and compassion. Don't let the malicious words of others lead you astray from your path to inner peace. Use these experiences to strengthen your understanding and detachment, remembering that true strength lies in how we choose to face adversity with grace and truth. And so we come to the end of our discussion on the signs that someone might not truly be by your side. Have you noticed any of these behaviors in your own relationships? How have you handled situations where you felt someone wasn't being sincere with you? Leave your responses in the comments and share this video if you think it might help someone else. Before we go, please leave us a like and subscribe, activating notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming teachings. Thank you for sticking with us until the end of this journey. Until next time, my dear friends.